What's going on, guys? This is Bootleg Crableg reporting to you live from Orlando, Florida. It is the last week of the season, and I'd like to send a message to Bobby J and Rusty Strombone. It is really, really nice to beat you guys in the last week of the season. The last 2 weeks of the season, Bobby J. It was great to beat you when it really didn't count. It counted as brownie points. It's always a great rivalry. And I'm looking forward to playing you next year. And yeah, we'll call it like that. And Mr. Anthony Felicetti, I am so sorry, my friend, but I knocked you out of the playoffs. You must hate me for eternity until next season. And Commissioner, I just want to thank you for all the hard work that you put into every week with these videos, and I will see you in the playoffs, guys.
Week 13 in the Always Sunny in Sayreville League, and the playoffs are finally here. 6 teams in the league are excited to get things kicked off. 6 teams in the league, maybe not so much. Injuries this week. The only injury of note was Lamar Miller, who left his game for a short period of time with an injury. He did come back and finish the game, but it's something that Team Blumpkin has to keep an eye on because, what if he re-aggravates that injury and has to leave his game this week? High score this week was David Johnson, who scored 38.5 points as the Golden Showers defeated the Gotham Rogues by a score of 138.6 to 124.4. In the marquee matchup of the weekend, the Golden Showers scored the highest team point total in the league. With the win, they clinched the number 2's division title, they clinched the number 2 overall seed, they clinched the first round bye, and they clinched the first ever regular season points title. And for that, the Golden Showers is this week's hero. Alright, now this week's GOAT is a painful story. There were a couple of crushing defeats in week 13, but one team felt the pain much worse than any other. Now, I don't know how many people caught the Facebook update that I did on Monday night right before the game, but the Devontae's Inferno shower hug game was the key game in determining how the playoff picture was going to stack up. And Shower Hug ended up losing that game by less than 2 points, giving Devontae's Inferno the 3 seed and knocking a couple of other teams out of the playoffs, namely the Rusty Strombone and Toddler Fight Club. Now, even though this game was crucial in determining who was going to make the playoffs and who was going to miss the playoffs, Shower Hug is not this week's GOAT, because all Rusty Strombone had to do was win their game and they would have been in. They wouldn't have had to rely on any other game's outcomes. They could have controlled their own destiny and punched their ticket. Instead, they lost to the Bootleg Crableg by a score of 137.7 to 105.3. So, they were at the mercy of the outcomes of other games. And unfortunately, Shower Hug lost by less than 2 points in a situation where they very easily could have, and some would say should have, won that game. I don't know how many people stayed up to the end of the Monday night game between the Indianapolis Colts and the New York Jets. I didn't. I went to sleep because it was disgusting and I couldn't watch it anymore. At the very end of the game, right before the 2-minute warning, the Colts get stuck in a 4th and 12 situation in field goal range. They were beating the hell out of the Jets at that point. They go into the 2-minute warning, and then coming out of the 2-minute warning, instead of kicking a field goal with Adam Vinatieri from Shower Hug, they go for it. They run it on 4th down just to run more clock, and because they were beating the Jets so badly that they didn't want to, I guess, run up the score with a field goal. So at the end of the game, Vinatieri could have kicked a field goal that would have won the game for Shower Hug, knocking Devontae's Inferno out of the playoffs and putting Rusty Strombone in the playoffs. But instead, they ran the ball, and the Rusty Strombone ended up getting knocked out of the playoffs. So there you go. That's fantasy football, and for that, the Rusty Strombone is this week's GOAT. All right, so before we get to the key matchups, which is basically going to be like the main feature going forward for the rest of the playoffs, let's take a look at the final standings in the Always Sunny League for 2016. The number 1 overall seed in the playoffs is the Bootleg Crableg. Number 2 overall is the Golden Showers. They get the first round bye. They'll be relaxing in the first round of the playoffs. The number 3 seed is Devante's Inferno. The number 4 seed is the Gotham Rogues. The number 5 seed is the Moth, and the number 6 seed is Team Blumpkin. On the flip side, we also know the first 6 picks in next year's draft. So with the first overall pick in the 2017 Always Sunny in Sayreville draft, picking first for the second time in their franchise's history, which is tied for the most in league history. Please don't watch my beer videos. That's right. Please don't watch my beer videos. Picking first overall next year. At least that's how it looks right now. Picking second next year is the Dennis System, followed by Rutherford B. Hazy. Picking fourth is Shower Hug, and picking fifth is Toddler Fight Club. Those 2 teams have missed the playoffs this year for the first time in their franchise's history. And picking sixth is Rusty Strombone. However, I have a feeling that there will be many discussions between the front offices of the Rusty Strombone and Please Don't Watch My Beer videos before the draft actually gets here. So stay tuned for a probable trade there. Alright guys, now it's time for key matchups, but before we do that, it's week 13, so that means it's time for Odd Sundays. So let's kick it out to Seattle, I think it's Seattle, for a point of view that's just a tad askew.
Aloha, it's Always Sunny in Sayreville. Well, to no one's surprise, I finished in the dungeon. However, will I get over it? Beautiful Waimea Falls, that's how.
Alright, thanks Colin. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Alright guys, key matchups. Okay, so we have 2 pretty big games going on this week. They happen to be playoff games. I don't know if you noticed. The first one is between the number 3 seed, Devante's Inferno, who finished the regular season with a record of 8-5, going against the number 6 seed, Team Blumpkin, who finished the regular season with a record of 7-6. The other matchup we have to take a look at is the number 4 seed, Gotham Rogues, who finished with a record of 7-6, taking on the number 5 seed, the Moth, who also finished with a record of 7-6. So as I do each year, I'm going to go ahead and kick it out to a special celebrity analyst to break down the games for us, position by position, and let us know what to expect in the first round of the playoffs.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Dave from Shower Hug. Not Dave the Commissioner, totally different Dave. I will be doing, for the first time, I will be doing the playoff breakdowns. Since I'm actually not in the playoffs this year, I can do an objective or semi-objective breakdown of the playoff matchups for this week. Okay, so the first matchup we have is the 3 seed Devante's Inferno taking on the 6 seed Team Blumpkin. Devante's Inferno finished at 8-5. Team Blumpkin finished the season at 7-6. At quarterback, Devante's Inferno has Andrew Luck facing against Houston, and Team Blumpkin has Aaron Rodgers facing off against the Seattle Seahawks. Both of these are tough matchups, but Aaron Rodgers has the tougher matchup going against Seattle. Both quarterbacks are at home, which is helpful for them. Rodgers has been playing well lately, although Andrew Luck has been playing very well lately also. I would just give, based on matchup and everything considered, I would give the slight edge to Devante's Inferno here, but I wouldn't be surprised if both of these quarterbacks play well this week. At running back, we have Devante's Inferno with Devontae Freeman at LA and Jordan Howard at Detroit versus Team Blumpkin's Theo Riddick on Detroit against Chicago and Lamar Miller at the Colts. The matchups are better for Team Blumpkin's running backs, but Devante's Inferno's running backs are just better. Even though they're both away in their matchups, I'm going to give them the slight edge there as well. Wide receiver. This is where it starts to swing in the other direction. Devante's Inferno's starting Jarvis Landry at home against Arizona and Golden Tate at home against Chicago versus Team Blumpkin, who is starting Doug Baldwin at Green Bay and Odell Beckham at home versus Dallas. Jarvis Landry and Golden Tate had the opportunity to pile up targets, pile up some yards. There's no question they have upside, but I think the upside is just better with Doug Baldwin and Odell Beckham. I think it's pretty clear that Team Blumpkin gets the edge at wide receiver. Tight end, Devante's Inferno has Jimmy Graham at Green Bay, and Team Blumpkin has Antonio Gates at Carolina. While I think Antonio Gates can have a useful game and potentially score a touchdown. He's always a threat to score a touchdown. Jimmy Graham is just having a better year. He's just a better player right now. So you got to give the edge to Jimmy Graham. In the flex, Devontae's Inferno started Tyreek Hill, and Team Blumpkin is going with Doug Martin. Now, this is being recorded on Friday, so I already know that Tyreek Hill had a pretty solid game, 16.8 points. It could have been a lot better, but that's a decent score out of the flex. That's also a score that I see Doug Martin being able to match. He's at home against New Orleans. So that's pretty much a wash right there, at least right now, based on the fact that Tyreek didn't have an explosion game. At defense, Devontae's Inferno's got the Falcons at LA, and Team Blumpkin is starting the Panthers home against San Diego. I'm going to give the Panthers at home the edge just because they're at home, and neither of these teams, I mean, the Falcons are better than the Rams for sure, but they're away, and the Rams defense is pretty good. So I don't know if that game is going to game script itself to where the Falcons defense just dominates. But the Panthers have the opportunity at home to maybe do something. And at kicker, Dustin Hopkins versus Dan Bailey. I don't care about kickers. So based on all that, I'd have to give the slight edge to Devontae's Inferno, but I think that that's also attributed slightly to the fact that Team Blumpkin is going to be without AJ Green in this matchup. That's a really, really tough injury for Team Blumpkin to get late in the season, because it really takes a big strength away. So there you go. Slight edge to Devontae's Inferno in this matchup. And now we have the 4-5 matchup. This is, in my opinion, the marquee matchup of the weekend. That's number 4 seed Gotham Rogues, 7-6, against number 5 seed The Moth, also 7-6. At quarterback, the Gotham Rogues are starting Jameis Winston at home against the New Orleans Saints, and The Moth is starting Matthew Stafford at home against the Chicago Bears. Both, quarterbacks that are having really good seasons, both in really good spots. This, I'm going to say, is just a straight wash. Both quarterbacks are probably going to have really nice games, and it could come down to, a matter of a few points that separates them. Total wash. The running backs. The Gotham Rogues are starting Melvin Gordon and Jonathan Stewart, and the Moth is starting Le'Veon Bell and Ezekiel Elliott. Now, one of these things is not like the others. Jonathan Stewart not on par with Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and Melvin Gordon. Gordon is sort of coming in third among the other 3 running backs listed there. Gordon having a great year, but Le'Veon Bell and Ezekiel Elliott are just on a different level, that next level up. So the clear edge for running back goes to the Moth. But that's probably going to be true against any team that they play, except for, if they run up against the Golden Showers. Wide receiver, the Gotham Rogues has Mike Evans and Julio Jones. The Moth has Randall Cobb and Emmanuel Sanders. No contest. Wide receiver goes to the Gotham Rogues. That's about as good as 1-2 punch as you're going to find in the league, and certainly in the playoffs. Tight end, the Gotham Rogues are starting Jason Witten, old reliable, and the Moth is starting Tyler Eifert at the Cleveland Browns. I like Eifert in this matchup. Witten has been very steady, but his ceiling has not been very high, whereas Tyler Eifert is, a beast, and he's like the main red zone weapon in that offense, especially with AJ Green out. So I'm going to give the edge to the Moth there. In the flex, the Gotham Rogues is starting Dez Bryant, one of the steals of the draft, and the Moth is starting Darren Sproles. I give the edge to Dez Bryant there. Going against the Giants, they're going to have something to prove. After losing in the first game of the season, I see Dez having a nice game there, probably going to score a touchdown. The Gotham Rogues are starting the Patriots defense at home against the Baltimore Ravens, and the Moth is starting the Cowboys defense at the New York Giants. This is going to be a tough one also, because the Patriots defense really isn't actually that good, even though they are home, and Baltimore is a solid team. So the Patriots defense, I don't know if they're necessarily going to be in a position to, put up a lot of points. Cowboys defense also not awesome, but they've been playing well, and it's going against the Giants, but they're on the road. I'll call this one a wash. And then kickers, Steven Hauschka, Cairo Santos. This is a tough game to call here because each team has clear strengths, and it's going to be a good matchup to watch. I will say in a flip of a coin that the Gotham Rogues come away with the victory, but not by much. It should be very interesting. So there you have it. I have the Devontae's Inferno and the Gotham Rogues moving on to the second round. It's chalky, but that's just the way I see it right now when I look at the matchups. We'll see what happens. I've been wrong all season long, so, why should now be any different? Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Dave. So that's it, guys. Week 13 update over. Remember to set your lineups. Remember that next week we're going to have a different celebrity analyst to break down the games for us. And remember that next week is the awards show. So hold on to your hats. And I will see you next week where it's always sunny.